Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Andrew.
Hey, Mark. How's everything?
Freezing my
Hi, Andrew. Good
balls
morning.
off in sunny Cal in Canada.
Very good. Shiva, how you doing?
Very good, Andrew.
Did you get to watch the video afterwards?
Yes, I did.
Good, good. What'd you think?
I thought it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, we almost had 200 on at one point.
Yep.
I'm not sure what was going on with Learn V2, but it was, hopefully that's resolved. I don't know if you could take a look at that. All right, it's top of the hour. We'll give it about 3 more minutes, as we always do, as a bunch of people typically come in here. Let's see. Can I go back? Yeah, absolutely, Justin. Same URL. I'll put the URL in as well for everybody to see it. Carl and Dennis did a stellar job. Hey, Kevin. Late for you, yes? Or you're real late, right?
No, 4 p.m.
Wait.
Yeah, in the afternoon.
Wait, where are you?
UK, Oxford.
Oh, okay. For some reason I was thinking, for whatever reason, I thought like New Zealand or something like that, but my apologies. Thanks for joining.
Cool.
We typically give it till 3 past. I can see a bunch of people coming in, and then I'll go over the format and we'll get going.
What's up, Andrew?
Hey, Steve, how are you? Great to see you the other week.
Yeah, it was good to see you too. You guys scared the crap out of me.
Why is that?
Oh, by Wednesday night when I thought I was going to play a card game, I thought I was going to a Texas Hold'em tournament or something, and it was breaches and backdoors and breaches. That was it was great.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was one of the his 3-minute rant toward the end was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
Hilarious.
For those of you out there that don't know what we're talking about, I had a cyber summit the 9th through the 11th of this month. We had about 250 folks there, and John Strand, if you're familiar with Black Hills Information Security, was one of the basically another key. We had Sunil Yu as the keynote, but John might as well have been a keynote as well also. And he has a card game called Backdoors and Breaches, which is online and also available. It was the #1 card game at one point on Amazon, and it's simulates attack and defense maneuvers. So it's a tabletop.
It's Dungeons and Dragons, but in response and breaches and response, it was amazing. It was just
yeah, it's phenomenal. So anyway, he led a tournament at the event, and it was pretty special. So yeah, thanks for putting that in there, Justin. Okay, Shiva, it's 3 past, and we'll kick it off here. So if you're new to the partner call, welcome. My name is Andrew Morgan, and I help the CyberCNS team on go-to-market strategies. We've been doing the partner call for, gosh, it'll be 2 years come May. I can't believe it, when we had Alpha Code. Hard to believe, huh, Carl?
Been a little bit here. Good to see everybody still hanging in here with us.
Yeah, amazing. All right, so what we did was back about 2 years ago, got 40 or so MSP and MSSPs together. We had alpha code that Shiva was working on, and that was CyberCNS. We're in version 2.0 right now. We've got some exciting. Yeah, you do remember that too, Lewis. That was awesome. Thanks for joining in early. And so what we do is allow Shiva, the CTO and founder, to go through and give an update on what's new, what's been released, what's coming. I watch chat, you guys comment, and I interrupt where appropriate. But then we open it up for general Q&A, and there's no holds barred. So Shiva, with that, let me give you the floor, and are you ready to get going?
Thanks, Andrew. So
Yeah.
let's quickly share my screen. Okay.
And we can see Shiva just once you go into full mode. Perfect. There you go. Got it.
Okay. So just going to start off with this. So as you know, basically 3 weeks back, we had an incident, and I have an incident report that basically is just being vetted by Deloitte, and they will probably give me the approval late tonight, and I'll basically put it up on the website. But essentially, the summary was that approximately 3 weeks back, one of the threat hunters basically wrongly marked CyberCNS agent.exe that was available to download from the S3 URL that we had as basically malicious and as basically malware. Now, the moment that essentially happened, he posted that on the URL host website. And once he posted it on the URL host website, what happened is that a couple of the antiviruses in basically in VirusTotal started picking that up and basically displaying this as containing malware. Post which we essentially kind of submitted our files to VirusTotal to essentially say that it is not malware. But by that time, what essentially happened is Sectigo, which was basically the provider of the certificate, basically revoked the certificate. So essentially, we had a situation where for almost like 3 days, we had a revoked certificate on the agent. And that was essentially causing issues with Microsoft Defender, Sophos, and all of these folks, right? And we tried to approach Sectigo to essentially kind of remedy the situation, and they basically refused to even talk to us at that particular point of time. And so we were essentially left with no option. And then we essentially approached, we went to the other certificate providers, code signing certificate providers. And then we expedited the whole process. And then we were able to essentially get extended validation certificate. Now, the EV certificate and the normal code signing certificate, the difference is with the EV certificate, you automatically are whitelisted on Windows, especially for smart screen, etc. And the second thing is that it has a higher level of validation that is done. So essentially, they give you a certificate saying that you are who you are absolutely, and we have validated you. So of course, it costs more. But now we essentially have signed all our executables with this extended validation certificate that we have. And so once we've got that, we released that basically the Sunday before the previous one. And then basically have updated all your agents, which is basically in the version 2.033. So you should not see any alerts from Windows Defender or any of those, because this is an extended validated, validation certificate. And so this should help in terms of proving the posture. And the good part is that now basically Sectigo, when we asked them for our money back, because we basically, they revoked our certificate, plus they didn't issue the new certificates that we had paid for. They have actually come back and they've basically said that they will replace the certificates and provide us with new certificates. So in essence, basically getting this. So just wanted to keep everybody aware of the situation that we ran into, and basically you will all get an incident report, because we have prepared the incident report. We just wanted to make sure that everybody saw it. Second, as part of this entire process, we also went through a detailed review. We actually basically have gotten Deloitte to basically do a detailed review. A consultant from Deloitte is doing the detailed review. And they are going through multiple pieces. One is basically doing a complete code review, infrastructure review. And basically they're pointing out things which may be problematic, which may not be problematic, etc. And so we are basically continuously in the process of basically getting all of those pieces also fixed, so that at a later point of time, if anybody wants to basically get a certificate that this is completely clean, then we can essentially provide that certificate. In addition to basically, we are completing the SOC 2 this month. So that essentially both a combination of those two should essentially kind of alleviate any concerns of security around the product itself. So that was the first thing. Second is that one of the things that was asked a number of times, and then we basically kind of have released it, is basically the probes and agents added under the global views. So you can actually see that when you go to global, you can essentially go to probes agent, and then you can see all the probes and agents with the additional column of company name. So you can sort and filter by company and see all the probes and agents of that. Third, there was basically one thing which basically was confusing everyone, which essentially said that scan not performed. So basically we have updated it to basically a credentials-based scan is not performed. It is not just, it's not scanned. It is scanned, but basically a credential-based scan is not performed because the credentials were not right. The next one is basically we have the ability to enable patching. We had it in global view settings last week, and today we are releasing a patch with which you can enable the patch basically on a specific company or basically across multiple companies. Okay, so these basically have with this functionality, you will be able to kind of install patches, etc. And what we're going to do today is actually, instead of just showing you slides, I'm actually going to hand it off to my colleague Chandu, who's out there in Bangalore, and we are actually going to show you a live patch and how we essentially do the patching. And then what we're hoping is that you can give us some feedback during the process. But in addition to that, we basically kind of will walk through how this whole patching is being developed. So essentially, we can you can kind of look at what is going through it and how essentially it's going to appear, what is going to be on the ticket, and how if there are any suggestions to improve, we are absolutely happy to take those suggestions. Okay. And then right now we've released it only with lightweight agents. This is because, again, as I said, we have this capability with the probe also, but again with probe, the way that we'll have to do it is we'll have to use SMB to essentially kind of copy the files to the admin share and then install it remotely. Now, with the scare that we had 2 weeks back in terms of the certificates getting revoked, we didn't want to kind of experiment that once again, just going into it. So we've started with the lightweight agent, but eventually our goal is to kind of get it into the probe. And what some of the things that I want to understand from this group is that if using the probe would require something like you folks actually enabling things like WinRM in a secured manner, would it be something that's okay with you? Or basically, because the problem with this whole SMB-based moves that we are essentially trying to do, even for the lightweight agents, the problem is that it is looked at as lateral movement. And then a lot of the existing tools are basically just shutting it down and then causing problems in terms of how successful we can be on scans. So that is basically something that I want to bring up to this group to basically see what they think about it, because I believe we can add things like WinRM support and basically get the run PowerShell scripts on remote machines and get the data. But for that, are we able to open WinRM, or we basically have to stick to SMB? Because that's basically one of the considerations that we are basically looking at, and we would really like to see what the team thinks of it. So with, and then the last but not the least, we basically have, we didn't have a proper job status in the external scan. And so now we basically have a full job status in the external scan. So you can actually see what is the ping status, what is the TCP port scan, was it completed? And there's a question of, and basically there was a question last week about will it scan all the ports? The external scans will scan all the ports. But what we try to do to optimize the external scans is like we run phase 1 scan, which is essentially for the top 3000 ports. And if you find nothing open in the 3000 ports, we kind of assume that the machine is offline. So that's something that we're going to change, where we're basically going to scan. You can basically choose either it's a deep scan or it is basically a light scan. And if it's a deep scan, we will scan all the 65,000 ports. So these are some of the changes that we're making right now. And basically now there are new Excel reports that are basically in there. So you can essentially download Excel reports for all of the compliance reports. This has been removed, has been put together. And then there are new security summary reports. And for this, I would like to thank Eric from Protect, who basically gave us the mechanism of creating this report. So with that said, what I'm going to do right now is to basically hand off the baton to my colleagues in Bangalore so that they can essentially demonstrate live as to how the patching works.
Shiva, before they start, can we just, there were some questions that came up in chat. Can I just have you clarify before they start? Okay, so the first is from Adam. He said, could, when you're talking about the revocation of the certificate, Adam says, could this happen again, a DOS from malicious or mischievous actor?
So I think this is, so can it happen? The answer is yes, it can happen. But essentially that's where we're putting in the mitigating factors, such as for putting in all the extended validation certificates. Second is we are publishing the, we are basically publishing the SHA-256 checksum of all the files with basically putting it out there. And third is that one of the things that we are basically going to be doing right now is to basically shut down any public URLs that contain this particular executable, so that we essentially, nobody can just basically find a public URL and then try to use that in order to basically report it to someone. So these are 3 mitigation strategies that we're essentially putting together right now.
All right. Let's see. Chris White asked, when you're talking about SOC 2, is it type 1 or type 2?
Right now, it's going to be a type 1 certificate, and basically a type 2 basically is more of an ongoing piece. So type 1, the certificate will be issued as of this date, and type 2 will be ongoing, which we will basically start in the next quarter.
Okay. Then there's a bunch of the comments start in on lightweight agents and how you're going to push patching and things of that nature. Should we let you guys do the demonstration, Shiva, and pick up on all of those questions?
Yes.
All right, let's go do the demo. Then we'll come back to all the comments around patching and questions. Go ahead, Shiva, or Chandu.
Yeah, Chandu and Swami, can you guys share the screen? I've given you the access. So what Chandu is basically going to be demonstrating today is that you're on a remediation plan, and then basically we have 2 applications. One is TeamViewer and one is WinSCP, which essentially have to be patched. So Chandu is basically going to walk us through the procedure of basically patching these. So you can see these icons which says what you can patch. So he's going to click on one of those to basically patch the WinSCP. So it asks you basically, okay, you want to patch. So the next thing is that you can choose assets. Now, this is basically typically for a case where there are multiple assets and you want to essentially kind of choose a few assets and not choose the others. Then you can essentially choose a subset of assets that you want to essentially patch. And then you click next. And then you want to basically say whether you want to create a ticket using the integration, okay? Or you want to do this. So in this particular case, we've not got any integration, so it's going to allow you to get through this. Okay, and then you can essentially kind of schedule the patch. You can essentially say that I want to run it now, or you want to run it later. So in this particular case, we're going to just say, I want to schedule it now. So I basically say, I click on schedule patch and then click on next, right? And then gives me a summary. And then I can just basically say patch. The moment we basically create this patch, then essentially if you go to jobs, under the patch jobs, this job, as soon as it basically starts off, it will basically get there. So Chandu, in the meanwhile, can you basically show us on the machine like what's happening so we can see what is the version of the patch? So WinSAP is basically version 5.5.2. And TeamViewer basically, which is there, is of version 15.20.3. Okay, and these are this thing, right? So Chandu, so now basically the patching has started from this thing, right? So it takes a couple of minutes. Basically, it is scheduled. So whether it's a scheduled job or it is scheduled now, it's actually a schedule that is created. So you'll actually see that come up in the patch jobs. So you can see that it basically has started. And then, so it's showing you over there that it basically is starting from, what's the from version that it's updating and what is the version that it is basically migrating to. And then it has been initiated at this point of time. So once the patching is complete, it will essentially finish the patching. So the questions that are coming in is, so yes, we are using Chocolatey for the patching. And then we basically have linked like all the vulnerabilities and the applications to basically various Chocolatey applications. And like we can actually show you actually under the hood. So Chandu, if you don't mind, can you basically go to our central repository UI so that we can essentially show everyone like how we essentially maintain this, please? So this is basically our software repository. So you can essentially see that all of these repository, we maintain all of these software in this repository, which basically contains this. So if you actually go to TeamViewer or WinSCP, can we basically show them how it works? Yep. So you can see WinSCP, and then this is basically we have a curated version of this. So we have curated this entire thing. So if you click edit, so you can essentially see that here we link what is basically the name of this software from a Choco repository perspective. And we have all the other details in here. So this essentially allows us to, so just going under the hood, what you see over here, vendor as in CPE and product name as in CPE, regex name pattern, etc. This essentially is used in order for us to basically make searches in NVD. So if you look at it, the way that the software works is like when you basically get a piece of software, like you basically say, get some NVIDIA driver, or you get WinSCP, right? So the name of the software that is there in the machine is different from how it is represented in the National Vulnerability Database. So this software repository is used to basically map between what comes back from the machine to essentially what is there in the vulnerability database. Once we do this mapping, we also have a tag which basically says what is the Choco name. So once this Choco name is entered in the central repository, this what we do is that when we get vulnerabilities which basically are corresponding to this particular what we call as a common product enumeration, we then essentially go and map that against this Choco name. So then when you basically come to the remediation function over there, it basically picks up what is the latest version of WinSCP over here from Choco, and then essentially tells you to upgrade to that version. So this is essentially how it works internally. This is basically the entire math that happens. But this repository that we create, it's a combination of like tools that we've written, which basically scrape multiple websites. And it also basically is manually curated to basically create this comprehensive software repository. And the other question in terms of the Choco repository itself, yes, it's basically we have hosted a private Choco repository, and that Choco repository basically is secured so that only like we can get access to it. And so that essentially so that no packages other than the ones that we allow essentially can get into the Choco repository. So that essentially is how we have secured it. Second, we have 2 members on the team who have access to basically updating the Choco repository, and fairly trusted members. Others don't have access to the Choco repository. So there is, I wouldn't say zero chance, but because we can never say that, but there is a negligible chance that basically any sort of malware or anything will get into the repository that we've created. So can we go back to the UI? So you can see that WinSCP has been upgraded. So we go back to the machine. Can we see basically that it's upgraded? I think you have to open the WinSCP executable for it to update. Can you open the executable and basically show the versions there, please? Yeah, so can we just try the team viewer, please, Chandu? So it takes about a minute for it to basically appear, and then it will basically patch. So Dennis, like, will apps like Chrome or Firefox show the updates, or will the app have to be opened first? It will update, but basically the app, once it's opened, that's when it installs. So basically, when in the remediation, you will essentially see it go away only after you open the application. So that's one piece. How do you manage tiering and staging of updates so that we can test a patch on a percentage of client computers? ConnectWise Automate as a 3-tiered patch mechanism. Henry, can you just explain this, please?
Okay, yeah. So if we roll out to specific program, let's say Google Chrome or whatever, if we're using, if we approve it, do we have to approve it by computer, or can we say I'm going to approve this on specific computer?
Henry, I think I'm not able to hear you at all.
Oh, sorry.
Let me change microphones. Is that better?
Yes.
Sorry about that. How would we approve patching in a tiered approach so that we don't approve this one patch for 100% of our clients or 100% of the computers at a specific client and accidentally find out that it destroys some other application or integration or something? Does that make sense?
You have the ability to basically choose a set of assets and basically do the update, right, Henry?
I'm sorry, I think I misunderstood. Can you repeat the question? I apologize.
No, I'm saying you can choose a set of assets, like a subset of assets, okay? And you can basically patch only those assets, correct?
Yeah. And like, I guess we'll have, I'll just ride along for the rest of the tour then and keep watching. I appreciate it.
While that's patching, let me finish the other questions. Will there be any issues with threat locker and the deployment of patches? There could be, because essentially if like when we basically uninstall and install applications, if it basically is not whitelisted, it can basically it can be there.
Yeah, Shiva, can we just have Carl talk a little bit about
Yes.
that if he could? And Shiva, could it also be could an EDR kill it at the same time as well? Obviously, you know, we asked for whitelisting, but could that occur as well? So two-part question.
I think Carl dropped off. You can ask Dennis.
Carl dropped. Okay, we can move on. I know it's an area that we're going to have to address. You know, threat locker is definitely going to be incredibly aggressive on something that isn't, you know, that you haven't whitelisted. We've already seen it, right, Shiv?
Yep, we've seen this.
Yeah, many times. So, all right, sorry. Go ahead, Shiva.
So that's patching. We have, see, will it always require the lightweight agent for patching remediation? So this was essentially, as I was explaining earlier, Trevor, that the problem is that if you try to do this on the, if you try to do this using the probe, then one of the things that keeps happening is that we keep getting errors saying that this is like lateral movement. So that's where we basically have problems with that whole piece. So that's essentially what we are looking at. So just wanted to quickly show you folks. You can see that the team viewer patched, and basically the patch is like applied. And then you can also see the WinSCP patch also has been applied, which is 15.9.6. So I don't know, Chandu, what did you do to bring it up? Was it restarting it, or what was the problem? So, but basically this is how the entire patching occurs in the tool right now. We are releasing it in beta right now. So basically, please give us your feedback, and then we'll essentially kind of take your feedback. And as you've seen, I've given you a tour of where the data is coming from, where the data is being pulled from. So you can essentially see the entire steps of how we essentially go from the software that comes to you to all the way to how we are able to patch a particular vulnerability and make sure that you get the right software in there. So that's essentially what we wanted to kind of cover in this live demo today. So Chandu, can you just show them where they can essentially enable patching for a company very quickly? So if you go to a particular company, you can essentially go to patching status and you can enable patching over there. Okay. And then there is also basically a global patching status, as I told you. So you can apply it globally, and then you can do it on a per company basis. The company basis one will take precedence over what is in global. And Swami, any chance we can basically show everybody the new what's new screen so that they will get to know what's new coming up on a regular basis. So if you have the ability to show it, please show that. Swami, Chandu, do we have the ability to show that new what's new screen?
Shiva, while they're doing that, Jeremy was asking, is it one by one, or could you patch globally? Like, hey, everybody's on X version of Chrome, update ubiquitously, you know,
Yes.
600.
Yeah, you can basically, for example, go to the global remediation and basically create a patch. Now, we can also have, we basically plan to introduce this, but we actually have it in code, but we have not opened it up right now, just because we didn't want to put too many things out there. But essentially the ability to define a policy which says that what is my patching policy. I actually showed this a couple of weeks back. We already have that. So you can basically define a patching policy saying that these applications are whitelisted applications. Whenever a patch comes, automatically updated. And these applications require approval before patching, and these applications never patch. So those three things we are essentially have categorization. And then once you put that category together, you can essentially kind of deploy patch based on that policy.
Shiva, I haven't looked at that patch policy, but is it possible to do tagging at all?
Yes.
You know, okay. Because what would be really cool for, you know, anyone can chime in here, like a Tim Fournette or Rafi, but I'm thinking for, you know, just for documentation's sake with a customer, hey, we've agreed that your, you know, line of business application on this device, should we get, you know, a CVSS or any type of patch that's, let's just say it's CVSS of 9 or higher, exploited in the wild, or, you know, this type of patch, you know, we've agreed that we will do this within this SLA.
So, yeah, if basically we can, technically we can do that, as I said, with policy, with saying that this is our SLA for. So if you remember a couple of weeks back, we also have the other screen that we are bringing together, which is basically what we call as basically like it's the to-do list, which essentially covers some of these pieces. So once we roll that out, that will also come in, and you'll be able to kind of roll out patches from that to-do list also, which basically kind of takes into account the SLA and the amount of time required to fix a particular issue that you're noticing.
Yeah. Dennis, what are your thoughts on that? Like, to be able to, you know, hey, we've agreed on this, and whether it's co-managed like you have, or an MSP that, you know, again, they could add a bunch of different tags, an SLA tag, a line of business tag, etc.
Well, I'll comment separately on a couple things. One, and I was just putting this in the chat, tagging is a really powerful feature. It's really gives you a tremendous amount of flexibility, but it has to be extended to being able to filter actions and dashboard views and reports by tag. I know there's still some gaps here that that need to be filled in, but that adds a tremendous amount of power and flexibility to the application. You can basically filter things on the basis of tags. As far as the EULA, what I think we're going to end up doing is taking that EULA and duplicating it and adding our company to that EULA. Basically, they're going to have to approve the EULA for CyberCNS and also for WhatsApp before we would be able to enable patching, because you know, patching for us will be enabled by the client rather than us doing it ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Your situation's a little different in that they're doing it. Cool.
We do not and will not do the patching for the clients. I think being able to offer them the capability to do that from the dashboard is going to be really a big boost for us. But we're going to have to get those legal agreements in place first. Basically, you know, the same EULA that for CyberCNS will have to be duplicated so that we have that EULA for us.
I don't know if this is what you were getting at, but I like the idea of specifying certain SLAs depending on CVE score, such that you know that if something's 9.5 or higher, that you do it immediately or within a couple days, and then anything lower than that, you can kind of put into the, you know, do in a week bucket kind of thing. You know, those are the kind of, that's the kind of information we don't get out of our RMMs typically when it comes to third-party patching, let alone regular patching. So I think that kind of thing might be interesting.
Will also involve, I think, drives a conversation too, Rafi, with them to own what we're going to do. It's not just us, you know, we're going to, hypothetically, we're pulling down your line of business application for X time because you've agreed if these things occur, we will patch it within this period of time. We will notify you, but we're taking it offline for this period of time whenever to get that system patched.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think across the board, you know, the ability to create groups is really useful, but you could do the same thing with tags and it just gives you a lot more flexibility.
All right, Shiva, what else do we got? We had lots of comments. Is anybody saying, hey, you missed my comment? Because there was, I think at one point, like 37 comments flying through here all at one time. So 85% says my MSA wouldn't protect me. Jerry, I know you're just making a comment, but what do you, can you help us out here?
Sure. I'm just saying, you know, this is something I know you've had some of your larger customers requesting this functionality, but please keep in mind that a lot of us, well, I can't say a lot, some of us at least, me included, look at this as a wing of the product that we probably won't be stepping a foot in for quite a while. So just whether it goes through the lightweight agent, like I wouldn't want to install a lightweight agent on a domain controller and accidentally update patches on that domain controller.
Yeah, look, this isn't, no one's got a gun to anybody's head here.
Yeah. Well, I just, accidents happen, so I'm just reminding you guys, let's make sure this is definitely an opt-in type of thing.
It's a full opt-in with
it's a full
statement
opt-in.
which says I agree, and basically you accept EULA. So we're hoping that by looking at it, like most people would be scared to basically do this. So this is basically the new release note format that we are essentially putting out. So every time we basically put out new releases on your screen, you will essentially see this, which essentially will explain what is the new feature that we are introducing. Second, how you can use it. And basically, even if there is a bug fix, what is the bug fix all about and what was it resolved? So we are going to basically start giving more detailed information with every patch that we are releasing so that it becomes easier for everybody to basically understand what is happening with each of these.
I think to Jerry's point, an opt-in, maybe putting one of those dialogues in there, one of those "Are you sure?" Kind of things, just as an extra step. I'd rather have an extra mouse click that I have to go through than risk doing something inadvertently. So that might be one way to mitigate that risk.
All right. I like the format. That's really nice, Shiva.
Yeah, I think I like Adam's suggestion of basically we can throw up an MFA.
Perhaps pop-up MLP challenge.
At the top of the page, rather than have to scroll all the way to the bottom.
That's interesting. What Adam's saying, Shiva.
Yep. So Michael, we've been kind of a little held back on that because of basically the last couple of weeks because of the issues as well as some of the things that we're trying to release. I will basically get the roadmap and new features bit in the next week's call.
Is there anything in particular, Michael? Because the team is adding quite a bit, and I'm sure the patching, and I know we still have some reporting on Essential 8 and other and some stuff with the external scan. Is there a particular? Okay.
Actually, the biggest thing is the CIS implementation groups that we are working on. That's actually one of the biggest tasks that we're working on right now. So
yeah, James Riley. Yeah. I thought about release. Okay, thanks, James. Well, I again did a lot of there was a flurry of questions and comments. Did we get to everybody holistically, or are there any things that we didn't cover? Across all my clients where probes are offline and failing Active Directory. This was requested. You see Henry's comment, show. Shiva? Shiva, you're muted.
yes, Andrew.
Do you see Henry's comment? I would still love a view that shows a high level across all my clients where probes are offline, failing, and or on Active Directory scans.
I think, Henry, you missed that view that I sent. Hey, Swami, can you make me host again? So maybe I'll reclaim it. So, Henry, we just covered this, which is.
And I think I know what you're going to show. I think I could be wrong. I speak for Henry. Maybe you can comment, Henry. You mean a dashboard, right? Where you have colors and things of that nature. Is that what you're getting at versus the grid view Shiva is showing? Yes. Okay. Yeah, Shiva, he saw it. He's just saying he's wondering if there could be a dashboard that he could easily just, when he logs in, clicks on and goes, okay, red, green, yellow, whatever.
Okay, so dashboard is simple. So let's put down what fields you want in that. Basically, company name, and then number of agents, number of probes, number of lightweight agents, number of probes that are online, number of agents that are online, probes that have run a discovery successfully in the last 24 hours, lightweight agents that have run a discovery in the last 24 hours. What other data would you like to have?
Man, I apologize. I apparently missed that. Can you show me the screen you're talking about? This is exciting.
So we have this screen where basically under you can basically go under probes in this thing, and you can see all of these details for all your companies. It's also classified by probes. What are the lightweight agents and external scan agents across those companies?
Well, there's a lot of comments, Shiva, not a lot of, no one's talking to me, but there's a lot of comments coming in about, how about this, guys, to make this easy. Now that this feature has been added that Shiva's showing, send us some, like, hey, I like it, send an email, support, or, I guess support the best route, Shiva.
Can you not just make it so that you can customize it yourself and then save that view? Like have like your own custom view, and then you can just set it up how you want it then?
Yeah, you can choose which columns you want, you don't want. But if you want any columns other than these, then let us know what columns you need so that we could just add it.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Shiva, is this in the version now?
Yes.
Yeah, it's live. It's live, Alex.
I just had a quick question. We've been.
Dennis, you're really faint.
Oh, really? Sorry.
Yeah.
I had a
barely
quick
hear.
question. Is this better?
Yep.
Okay. We've been creating some custom dashboards. Is it possible to change the default dashboard when you log in, so that when you log in, you see a custom dashboard rather than the default that's there now?
We'll get that added then. So basically, you want the start dashboard to be a different dashboard rather than whatever we've hard coded. So I'll basically make that a setting, and then we load that dashboard if it's available.
I think a lot of people, everybody's gonna have their own idea of what they want the dashboard to look like. So people want to create their own custom dashboard, just be able to make that the default, I think would be a good feature.
We'll add that, Dennis.
I knew a question about different scans. What's the difference between a full? Hold on. Shiva, can you briefly explain what the difference between a full scan and asset scan is?
So in a full scan, we basically, like an asset scan, essentially goes out, basically discovers all the assets and basically types it and then brings it back. Whereas a full scan will essentially, like if you have Active Directory, if you have assets, if you have also the vulnerability scans, it will run a combination of all those scans and basically bring it together in one shot. So that's the difference between an asset scan and a vulnerability scan. And sorry, a full scan.
Well, a question I got offline, Shiva, was have we added the ability to see how many assets, asset count somewhere?
In the assets view, you have a complete view of all the assets. And plus, basically, there's an insights dashboard, right? So you click on the insights dashboard, it shows you all the details.
Right, but there is, so they're asking it from the standpoint of, let me just look at, I'm looking at the email, from the standpoint of licensing.
Yes.
Like you're using, I'm making it up, 1,750 out of 2,500.
So that is basically in the insights, you can see that.
Is there any chance, is it easy for you to show that
Yeah, I'll just get that.
by chance?
Just a second.
Yes, thank you.
I just got pinged to basically say one thing, which I basically will also put in an email and send out to everyone. So if your Fortinet scans, so one of the things that we've noticed recently is that the Fortinet scans are failing because they've changed the CLI. So basically we've migrated all the Fortinet scans to basically become API based. So in case the Fortinet scans fail, starting the middle of this week, you will have to just basically go back to Fortinet and enter the API key. We'll give you the complete instructions for it and then reset it, and then the reports will come back right now. So Andrew, you can see this right here, right?
Still see you. Like your icon. I don't see anything. Now I see you. Okay.
So here you can see what's the total number of companies, the assets which are billed for. And then here basically you have a breakdown of the different types of assets that are there.
Okay. And that's Insights. It's called Insights. It's a dashboard called Insights. Shiv?
Here basically you can see that there is something called Insights here.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Just pull down. That's it. And you can download this report also.
Okay, perfect. Insights used to be something else. So thank you for that. All right, let's see where we are at here. We have the share for that. Shiva, where are we heading with external scans?
External scans, basically the new scan engine that we have will basically solve a lot of problems with external scans and basically give more insightful information, because we basically have, so we have basically used another application analysis tool. So we are able to kind of determine what kind of technology is behind a particular server, and then basically be able to kind of detect vulnerabilities based on that. So with that release of that tool, we should basically be in a position to compete against any other external scan tool that's there that's specialized only for that purpose.
Okay, Michael's confused on the Fortinet issue.
If you haven't patched it, they won't stop working. They will continue to work. It's only that if you have not patched it, then if you have patched it, then they will stop working, at which point of time our request is put in the API key and they will start working again.
All right. So with 3 minutes left, what do you guys think? Shiva, great job, team, and to the team, awesome job on getting the patching out. That was a huge accomplishment. I know a lot of people have asked about it. Thanks, Mark.
Perfect.
Great.
Thank you all for basically being here. And then I hope you all had a great Right of Boom event, and yesterday's webinar was awesome. So thanks, Dennis. Thanks, Carl. So looking forward to seeing all of you next week.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care.